Hi, Todd. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Uh, how did you find out about the position with the River City Rascals? What interested you most about them as a pitching coach?
Well, actually, I got started out here through some pro ministry things related to chapel that we provide for the minor leaguers, including the Frontier League and actually all the way through baseball, minors and pros. And I work with that in St. Louis, and I got to know Steve Brooks, and he actually came up to me and asked me if I'd be willing to come out and give these guys some of the 2 cents that I have and experience I have with baseball and especially the pitchers. And so we kind of worked out a deal, and I ended up out here. So a lot of this I'm out here, on my own time, and because I love the game of baseball and I like being around the guys.
Awesome, awesome. You've clearly gained a lot of experience in baseball, both as a pitcher in the major leagues with the St. Louis Cardinals and the Los Angeles Dodgers, and as a coach. What did you learn about coaching from your time as a pitcher in the major leagues?
I was fortunate to have some good pitching coaches, and a lot of them were very open-minded. They weren't gonna tell them you had to do it a certain way, and because every athlete has their style, and not everyone's going to throw like a Todd Worrell or a Nolan Ryan or whoever it might be. So it's not as easy a job sometimes as it looks, as people viewing it, because you're dealing with 10 different guys, 10 different personalities or 12 different personalities and different skill sets and abilities. So I've found that a lot of times I have to sit back and watch a lot before I try to offer some information, because it might not, I don't want to tell them the wrong thing. And there's a lot of things that take place in pitching mechanically that have to be right. And I try to stay, in the fundamentals. But once in a while, there's some things that are unique to each pitcher. And, if I pick something up that I think, might be hindering them or not maybe making them as effective as they could be, I might mention it to them and talk to them about it and see what they say.
Yeah, it does sound a little bit more complicated than what some people would think.
Yeah, things are happening out there in a split second, and there's a lot of basic fundamentals to pitching that you can think you have the right thought of what you're seeing, and you try to communicate that to a player, and they, like in communication, sometimes interpret it different, and you can end up compounding a problem. So it's you got to be careful what you do, and I try not to. I probably don't do as good a job as I could, because a lot of times you come from your own reference point, your own experience pitching, and I know that we don't all pitch the same, but sometimes I think back to myself and things that I was doing to make adjustments, and and try to communicate that to those guys. But I found that if you stay in the fundamentals, you're pretty safe.
That helps.
Yeah.
Good. Let's see. As a pitcher with the St. Louis Cardinals, you won the National League pennant in both 1985 and 1987. How would winning a Frontier League championship as pitching coach of the Rascals compare?
Well, I don't know if you could compare it in terms of it maybe more apples and oranges, but being out here, to me, I think from a coaching standpoint, the real satisfaction is seeing these guys be able to enjoy a good season, trying to help them play to their capability. And the result of that, when a collective of 25 guys come together and do that, you get an opportunity at a championship. And this team has been close. We were close last year. They rallied late. And I think that for a coach, that's your reward, is seeing these guys compete and win at that high, at the Frontier League level as far as the championship goes. I think that's the fun part of it, is seeing them run around. Even at the big league level, you see a bunch of grown men running around and hooping up. They look like they're 12 and 13 years old. And it would be fun, and I think very satisfying for us as a coaching staff to see these guys to be able to enjoy that and have that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Which manager or coach would you say had the biggest influence on you, both as a player and as a pitching coach?
Well, that would definitely be Whitey Herzog. I had a lot of respect for Tommy Lasorda, but I came to Tommy Lasorda and the Dodgers as a veteran pitcher. I knew what I was capable of doing. I had honed a lot of things in my pitching as far as how I needed to pitch and what I knew I needed to do. But so when I back up and look at what Whitey did with me. I was young, I was inexperienced, and he put me in a spot that you don't see a lot of young rookie players. They just usually don't drop that in a young player's lap because it can be a very difficult situation to deal with mentally and from day to day. It's not always just going out there and striking everyone out. It's really dealing how you're going to handle the highs and the lows. And you know, you're a goat or you're a hero in the job I had. And so, you know, I found very quickly that it was how I handled that mentally. And Whitey was a huge support. Always, I think the biggest thing that helped me as a young player, as a stopper and a reliever, late inning reliever in the game, was that he stayed with me. And I went through my slumps like anyone else. And I think there was a critical time in my second year where, you know, the media was on Whitey about, hey, maybe we need to get another stopper, that sort of thing. And he stayed with me and believed in me. And I didn't have to worry about looking over my shoulder and those types of things. Whitey was really good relationally with his players. He knew, you know, he knew their makeup. I mean, he just tried to get to know what was inside. It's easy to see a guy go out here and swing a bat, throw a ball. Everyone can see that. But what's inside a player is, to me, the difference of what separates some guys from being able to perform in certain situations. And I think, you know, maybe he saw that in me before I even did. And but he left me out there, and I was able to make some adjustments. And with that, I think I really owe the success of my career to the way Whitey handled me.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really amazing to have somebody such as him be such a supporter for you at a young age.
He was, and he was that way with all his players. I mean, veteran alike. It didn't make any difference, young, old, where you fit as far as the 25 guys on the team. He made it clear what he expected out of you and what your role was going to be on the team. And if that wasn't something that you could embrace, then he'd find another place for you to play, because he had a way that he wanted to do it, and I think he maximized the potential out of most of his players.
That's good. During your time as a pitcher in the major leagues, you were one of the most consistent hard-throwing closers in the league. What methods do you take to coach players that have a similar pitcher style as you? And how do you work with the pitchers that have a different skill set in pitching? I know we kind of touched on that a little bit earlier, but do you have anything else to add to that?
Well, we got two guys on this team right now that are built actually they're bigger than I am. I think one of them's got to be 2 or 3 inches taller than me, and I think the other one's got me by an inch or two. So, I mean, I understand, you know, one of them is wanting to be a stopper or reliever. So, that's definitely going to be an easier fit for the two of us when we talk. I've been working with him a little bit on some different pitches and just working on, you know, what you got to be able to do in the relief role. But I'd probably go back to what I mentioned earlier a little bit, was on the fundamentals.
Right.
You know, if you silhouetted every pitcher or even big league pitcher, and you didn't know who it was or didn't know their number and name on their back, and you watch them, you know, as they wind up and deliver the ball and finally release the ball, you can pretty much slap that silhouette over the top of everyone in certain positions. And there's just certain places you have to be as a pitcher in order to deliver the ball consistently to the plate. So that's how I try to, you know, I might be able to do maybe a little, how should I say this, the connection between the two guys I mentioned earlier, because they're similar in style. To me, you're big, you got a lot of arms and legs you have to kind of be under control with and get to the right spot to deliver the ball. So those guys, it might be a little easier fit. Some of the other guys, you know, we got some sidearm guys. I didn't throw sidearm. So, you know, those guys, I try to give them some information when I can. And like I said, I think you're always, in this game of baseball, you're always learning, even as a coach. I don't care how long you played the game. You should always approach it as, you know, I don't know everything, and I should be trying to learn these guys and see what their idiosyncrasies are and see if I can pick something out that'll make them a better pitcher. So that's kind of how I go about it.
Good. Well, what can we expect from the Rascals pitching staff in the near future?
Well, as far as their performances go, you know, we talk about throwing strikes, and the reason for not throwing strikes is normally comes back to what we were just talking about, that they got a flaw in their mechanics. So we talk about throwing strikes, we talk about getting ahead of hitters and forcing, you know, some statistics in this game are really beneficial if you listen to them. And when your best hitters in the game only hit 3 out of 10 times, what's happening those other 7 times? You got to throw the ball over the plate. You got to make those guys swing the bat. So, you know, I'm hoping that this staff this year will continue to throw strikes. I think they're doing a good job of keeping us in games. We've had some blowouts, and everyone does, but that they'll compete out there and give us their best effort, which I think they all want to do. And my job is to try to, and Steve's job is, all of us as coaches, is to try to keep these guys as productive and doing the best they can do when they're on the field. And sometimes that's more of a psychology job than it is actually working with their athleticism or fundamentals.
Well, that's good to hear. And thank you very much for joining us today, Todd.
Yeah, you're welcome. My pleasure.
And good luck in the near future.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.